Hello and thanks for checking out TheChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Everyone checking in on the major Canadian MJ names. We'll start it off with Cronos. As the last video that I did on Friday afternoon, I was talking about, actually that was Thursday afternoon, talking about the potential trade setup with the double bottom that was playing out, and we ended up holding that support level. So let's just go back and see the bounce off that support. 1107 was the low of the day. We hit 1107, 1106, 1107, quadruple low. And that was enough to keep me in the trade. So you obviously want to give enough wiggle room of a stop loss of at least a few pennies before you get stopped out. So held on to that. I exited half into this bull move at the end of the day to remain protective. We're in a pullback in a weak market. When I have profit, I lock in at least partial profit to remain protective. So if I had an average of 1125, which I did, I sold half at, let's say, 1140. That gives me 15 cents more wiggle room for my break-even price. So my break-even price for the trade then drops from 11.25 down to 11.10. So very little risk at that point, putting the stop below this double bottom for the rest. And then, of course, first thing Friday morning, we get the bullish reaction to the sector. A lot of the major names saw a gap down open, which, as we know, is for buying. And in this instance, Cron held support, wasn't as weak as other names, and certainly saw the follow-through. We saw a nice 6+% move from the low to the high in the first 30 minutes of trading. At that point, I checked in on the morning as I was traveling, not able to sit at my computer, and we had a break of this support level. Actually, we had formed that support level, and I said, all right, if we break that low of 1148, I will exit the rest of my position, which I did get stopped out, which was fortunate as the rest of the day ended up consolidating. So a nice little trade, just locking in, again, a couple profit points, a couple percentage points in a weak market as a bull. I'm much faster to take those profits in the current market environment, as is everybody else, which is why we are seeing some weakness overall. So in the end, the daily time frame, we are looking for that higher low to form, and we didn't get a whole lot of follow through, and we have an upper wick of profit taking. One of our members rightly asked, if you're looking for a daily higher low to form, we can expect some bounce follow through. Why are you going to use that 5-minute level as your stop? And the answer was, I can't watch today, and there's no other support levels nearby. And aside from that 1148 level, we're literally just looking back at 1106, and I don't want to risk giving back everything. I want to at least lock in some profit. So I'm perfectly fine missing out on any kind of move of follow-through that we get, knowing that I'll be at the computer on Monday and can trade it from then. But just remaining protective, as always, in this current market environment. So where we stand as we head into Monday is the bulls need to make their way back and break some of these resistance levels. We've got a whole bunch on the 15-minute time frame, 1132, 1139, 1162, and 1174. Just clear 15-minute lower highs all day. And we did get some little bullish action at the end of the day, but obviously if that doesn't follow through on Monday, it won't mean a whole lot. So we still have this bottom fishing play. 1106 is a key support level, and we can put our stop level perhaps just below $11 if we want to give a little bit of wiggle room, or maybe 1103 or 4 if we don't want to give that much. But that's a support level that we're certainly going to be watching on Monday for the potential to play off of it. And we'll see if this daily higher low can get any kind of follow through on this bounce. If we do get follow through, we would then be looking for a lower high, perhaps in the mid $12 range. So still weak overall. CGC, pretty perfect gap rule of thumb for the last couple days. Gap ups are for selling, so selling on Wednesday. Gap downs are for buying, so buying the initial flush on Friday. And the RSI on the hourly time frame was a guide then as well. So the hourly RSI on the gap up open was, let's put extended hours on, but for CGC, that hourly RSI was over 70 on the gap up open, and then we have the gap down open where the RSI was just at oversold. And at the bottom of that wick, when we broke $30 psychological support, that RSI was under 30. And that's one of those scenarios where psychological support level breaks. We have that final flush down, hourly oversold, gap down open, and then bulls buy that dip for a solid bounce. At this point for CGC, the most important levels for me on Monday are our low of consolidation support, 3064, and our resistance of 3209. As far as the daily chart goes, we have our clear top, our clear new lower high of 3365 being set. And if you look at the bulls attempt here, they're trying to form a higher low compared to 28.10 and change this trend. And obviously we haven't seen a lot of follow through, haven't even seen 2 green days in a row in a couple weeks. So the bulls have still a lot of work to do. The market is still very weak for the S&P 500. We're close to the lows that we've hit over the past couple of weeks. And if we drop down for another leg down, that's obviously only going to hurt this sector and have the Canadian MJ names testing their lows, which would be 28.10 for CGC. If the market bounces, we'll be looking for CGC to try and break 33.65 and 33.80, which was a pre-market resistance, to try and shift this daily momentum to get that weekly bounce going and just look for a weekly lower high. So at this point, the bears still have control and they have favor because we're only looking for a weekly lower high to be set, and we're still struggling to get any kind of signal that the bulls are pulling that off on the daily time frame. Can't string together a couple green days in a row, which is certainly not helping the bulls. So APHA also saw a gap down open, a little flush below $5 psychological support on the U.S. side of things. This is the Canadian ticker. We bounced off 650. Most important levels for me are resistance at 840 and then up at 875. So this is the bulls trying to change the daily trend. If we form this higher low at 650 and turn around and break these levels in the $8 ranges, that's going to be notable for a shift in momentum. So 840, 875, and then 912, the high of the first gap down open day. Those are the key resistance levels. And if we look on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that we broke support here of 660 only by 10 cents, no follow through there. So now the question is, can the bulls turn that around and get over this resistance, the 4-hour lower high of 840? So those are the key levels to be watching. Lots of volatility on APHA, certainly a good day trader for those interested in volatility in the sector. And just zooming into how it played out in the morning on Friday, it was a very significant bounce from 650 straight up to 775, a 20% move essentially, and a little bit less than that, but look how quickly that played out. So I'm definitely going to be watching APHA for a break of this tightening range on the 4-hour time frame because volatility should increase again when that does happen. ACB on the daily time frame, gap down open. Actually, let's see, the low was 740. We opened at 739, so not really a gap down open, but we saw the quick flush and bounce just like everybody else. And ACB right now is one of the healthier daily time frames out of these major Canadian names because we saw a move of 30+% from the low in a weak market, in a weak sector. We know consolidation's coming. Now here's our higher low attempt. So the higher low on the daily is 715. And if the bulls can turn it around and see a break of 831, that's our daily trend change. So the bounce broke some daily lower highs from back in November, but we need the higher low and higher high to confirm the trend change, and ACB is positioned the best to do it. So I'm certainly watching ACB as well. I do believe that ACB has the most potential in terms of one of the next deals that we could see, and I believe the market is pricing that in as well. There's certainly other names, TRST, that other people are talking about for the potential deals to come out, and APHA, of course, but I do believe that ACB is among the top-tiered names to be considered next, so keep an eye out for extra bullish action as that is the case. And last, we got TLRY trying to get a bounce going. We're just going to look for a daily lower high. The last one was 104.44. Anything under that is just a lower high. Bears have made some nice gains the last week. And essentially what we're seeing, in my opinion, is the market pricing in a bunch of shares that are going to become free trading in early 2019. And this is when the market prices that in and drops in response to that. And we don't normally see an all-out dump the day that free trading shares become free trading, and that's because the market has already priced it in to a good degree. So we broke a bunch of key supports after 70.89, the low of this current pullback. The next support that we're looking down at is down at 55.55. So there's no support nearby, and I would be watching the 4-hour downtrend, and you can see we're just going to be looking to set a 4-hour lower high on any bounce attempt here. So the bears have the upper hand in TLRY, and I don't see that changing in the foreseeable future. So bears are keeping an eye on TLRY for plays. Bulls are keeping an eye on ACB for plays. Day traders are keeping an eye on APHA for the volatility. CGC certainly decent for trading and has the pre-market and after hours benefit in terms of some solid opportunity there. And so do these other names on the U.S. side of things. And last, we got Cronos still looking for that daily higher low. We have a daily inside bar to be watching on Monday and still going to be looking for the potential of some follow through and I will have interest in Cron until we see a bounce to form that lower high, because we know that bounce is coming eventually. The question is going to be, is it at 1106? Is that support going to be able to hold, or are we going to drop down into the mid to upper $10 range to try and find that higher low? So appreciate you watching. Don't think I'll get a small cap video out this weekend. Still bouncing around and traveling, but I'll settle in a bit next week, and we will certainly cover some other names, some smaller names in the daily videos next week as well. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend and do good things.